There we go, eventually. Good evening, guys, and welcome to the Celtic Way for a sort of an evening briefing, you could call it. I know we have a morning briefing, but we're going to do a wee mini evening briefing, a TCW reacts to John Kennedy's pre-match press conference. But we're going to do more than that, I think. I think we're going to react to the press conference and we're going to give a sneak peek at our lineups, or the same lineup that we both picked, because that is coming out at 6 today. So we'll give you an extra half an hour or sort of maybe 10 minutes before the end. We'll give you a 10-minute sneak preview of the predicted lineup. My name, as always, is Ryan McGinley at the Ryan McGinley on the X handle. Tonight, I'm delighted, as always, to be joined by Tony Haggerty, Haggerty10 on the X handle. Tony, how are you doing this evening?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Things are good, yeah, things are good. It's been a pretty good day in terms of getting positive news back with regard to Celtic and everything going on with the club. Before we get started, I would just like to shout out or tell you about the latest offer that's going on. I'm used to doing a sponsor there. If you subscribe to the Celtic Way website, this is down at the bottom of the ticker tape. Subscribe to the Celtic Way website for £4 for 4 months or £18 for a full year and support top quality journalism covering the club you love. If you visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe for more information. The site is absolutely packed today. We've got an opinion piece from Tony talking about the Swiss League model. The Swiss League model that's coming into play in the Champions League, as well as some of the misfires that Celtic have faced in Europe this season. We've also got a Yang piece about Yang Hyun-jun from Alan Morrison. He did a stats piece because he's went over 900 minutes. So he thought it was a good point to sort of figure out how Yang is doing, for his first couple of months at the club so far. So all of that is available, plus the full press conference Q&A from John Kennedy. Today it was John Kennedy rather than Brendan Rodgers. That's all available on the Celtic Way website. So please get involved if you want to get stuck in and read rather than watch the press conference. So yeah, Tony, why don't we go into the press conference in a little bit more detail? As I was saying, it was John Kennedy that was doing the press conference rather than Brendan Rodgers. Are we thinking it's because Brendan Rodgers has had that sore throat for the past couple of days? It seems to have been bothering him. That's the sort of that's the conclusion that I've came to. I don't know about you.
We'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one and say that's what it is. He's stepped down from press conference duty today and up stepped John Kennedy, who's did it sporadically during his time at the club, hasn't he? He's kind of stepped into the chair every so often and spoken. And I've got to be honest, I said to you off there, didn't I? He was kind of channeling his inner Ange today, I thought, talking about processes and mindsets and attitudes and talking about abandoning principles, stuff like that. Spoke about Maeda the Machine as well.
Hazel Finn says Maeda the Machine, love it. We do too. That was a bit of a giveaway. It was either going to be one of two players. I think both of them could be called machines, to be honest with you. But John Kennedy, the assistant manager, went with that adjective to describe Daizen Maeda, who returns to the team this weekend following quite a few weeks out with injury. We got that double jeopardy of being sent off and off injured.
Only John Kennedy can make Maeda the Machine sound very deadpan. He's a machine, and then it's all very matter of fact, and that's just the way he is and the way he speaks, and that's fine. But and also it befell to him to tell people that Cameron Carter-Vickers and Daizen Maeda were available, and he was just like, "Yep, they're good." It's just like it's just kind of matter of fact, whereas I think the Celtic supporters were making a big song and dance about it that Daizen's back and Cameron Carter-Vickers is back in the side, that kind of stuff. So and that's no slack. As I say, I think John Kennedy's learned a lot from all the managers and he's worked under. So
you're just hoping that they can all rub off on him.
Yeah, so I think when he does sit in that chair, he kind of knows how to play it. Because he's learned a lot from all of them. He's got Neil Lennon twice, Brendan Rodgers twice, Ronnie Dylan and Ange Postecoglou. So, but I thought today was Postecoglou-esque in my assertions, Ryan. Just kind of deadpan and, but telling you enough, and letting you into the mindset about how they addressed the rugby part debacle last week, which I
Yeah,
really liked. He spoke very well about that, and so stuff like that. I quite like that, and Ange used to do that now and again, didn't he? He used to let you in, and how he was thinking, tell you what. Remember that famous speech where he said to the players, "Don't waste a day," and all that kind of stuff, and
absolutely.
so I thought Kennedy was a bit like that today, channeled that today. I thought, and I think lots of people might have been put off when they saw John Kennedy come in, but I thought he spoke very well.
He did. He spoke well. It's maybe just the delivery of some of the things that maybe would put people off, but that's can't help that whatsoever. He's definitely a very, very good guy
Who he is?
behind the scenes to have. There's a reason why he's been at the club for so long. He's clearly a very valued member of the of each coaching team that he's been in. Why don't we get in to talk about this press conference now? Bear with us just a minute, guys, because we're going to try something a little bit different today when talking about this press conference. So if I press this button, let's see if this works. If everybody can see that okay. If I just pull this down a bit, can you see that okay, Tony?
Yeah, yeah. I can read it a wee bit small, the type underneath the bold type, but I can still read it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys can all see what I'm reading with regard to everyone can see what I'm or what I'm reading with regard to the Q&As. So the first thing that John Kennedy was asked was how the mood was around the club after Wednesday's big win. He says it's been good. The result lifted the spirits in terms of finishing the campaign with a win. In the games where we had a man sent off, we didn't have a chance in them. Then the couple of home games where we felt that we could have taken more from them. So it was good for the boys to feel that. Even just the level of performance, because they're a very good side and it was a very competitive game, which obviously talking about Feyenoord. We eased our way into it, but I think after 20-25 minutes we came to life. We took belief in the way we wanted to play and created a lot of opportunities and chances and went on and won the game. So it gave the players a lot of belief. Would you agree with what he was saying there, Tony, with regard to the fact that they were easing into the game for the first 20-25 minutes? But yeah, they got into it.
Yeah, I think your mood has to be lifted after you win in the Champions League. And bearing in mind it'd been a long time since Celtic had won a home game in the Champions League, everybody had reminded them of that. So I think the way they went about their business the other night was to be admired. And they didn't settle for a draw either when Feyenoord scored a late goal. They actually went at them again and grabbed the winner and were fully deserving of that, I thought, because I thought the second half they were the better side and created the better chances. And, but Feyenoord showed that they were here to win, didn't they? They came here to win and created a few opportunities themselves, and Celtic were pretty resolute in defence. Joe Hart had a great game too. So yeah, I agree with his assessment of that. Yeah, it was a highly competitive game for a so-called dead rubber, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think both teams have got to be praised with regard to that. It's definitely good to see. It's good to see that even though it was a dead rubber in that regard, both teams were going for it. They were both going for the 3 points, and in the end, Celtic got those 3 points. So yeah, it's good that they've taken quite a bit of positivity with regard to that. Let me just find. We'll probably go on to the next question or the question after that, where he's talking about injury wise, are Carmen Carter-Vickers and Dyson Maeda available? And he said that they'll both come into the squad tomorrow. They're good. Leila Abada is still working through rehab, so he's a couple of weeks away. Rio Atati's slightly behind him, but apart from that, we're pretty good. That's great news regarding those
Yeah,
2-3 players in particular, especially the two in Leila Abada. Not Leila
and
Abada, and Dyson Maeda and Cameron Carter-Vickers.
and I was laughing because those first couple of sentences there, they'll both come into the squad tomorrow. They're good. It was just so matter of fact. But the Celtic supporters are like, it's a big thing for Dyson Maeda to come back into the team. But for John Kennedy, it was very much kind of business as usual face. He's a Celtic player. He's been missed. Right, he's back in. End of story. So that's what I was talking about. That kind of deadpan way that he just kind of announced something that Celtic supporters are pretty excited about. That Maeda's coming back into the team. I'm not saying he jump around and go wild and whoop and holler about it. I was more. It was just kind of, that way you kind of watch people and the way they speak and the way they convey messages. He's very assured. Yep, they're back in squad. They're good. Right. He's a wee bit longer. He'll be a bit longer as well. End of question type thing. So I found that interesting. It's interesting to me, watching him say that. That's all. I'm not having a go at the way he's expressed it, or because I think one of the commenters saying bad delivery. I never said bad delivery. I just said the deadpan delivery of it. So don't want that to be conflated. I said deadpan delivery, not bad delivery.
One thing that I would say though, and something that I wanted to hear about with regard to the team, was the sort of situation with regard to Tomoki Iwata. You didn't get any update on him. Now, we didn't see him in training in any of the videos that we looked at. I tried to spot him and I couldn't spot him. So I guess that has obviously been taken into account with regard to our predicted lineups, because if you don't see him in training, then you wouldn't expect him to play.
Yeah.
But I would have liked that to have been clarified by John Kennedy.
Well, I don't know if anybody asked it, did they?
No, nobody did.
So I would have thought after Wednesday night somebody might have asked the question if they were sitting in front of him, but maybe just got lost in the in the kind of Maeda and Carter-Vickers coming back, and maybe John Kennedy. John Kennedy's not addressed it either, so maybe being told not to say anything about it unless he's asked.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
So he hasn't volunteered any information on it. So it can be one of two things: he wasn't asked, or maybe he's been told not to say anything until he specifically asked that question, which wasn't forthcoming. So fair enough. But it would have been nice to know it. Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. Especially for the people doing predicted lineups as well, just so I can change it. Thankfully, I don't think either of us put Iwata in our starting lineups, but it would have been nice to have known at the same time. I'm just going to go into these
predicted lineups like me and you. Is that who you're talking about? Yeah, or you? Oh, you want to see that?
Absolutely. You're not looking for preferential treatment. Just tell us if Iwata's okay, basically. I'm just going to go into this question because I thought this was a really, really interesting answer from John Kennedy regarding the centre-back situation in particular. So the question was about the centre-back situation with Carter-Vickers coming back into full fitness. You now have 6 or 7 centre-backs. How do you view that? And do you think there'll be a primary pairing that will emerge? Scales has played really well so far this season. Cameron's been there 2 years and has been brilliant. What do you see? And his answer was, it's a position where we have a lot of players. In January, there's going to be a couple that will go out and get game time elsewhere and trim the squad down a little bit. If anything, we're carrying a lot of numbers, so there'll be a lot in the periphery who just need to go and get game time, or maybe even move on. Everyone will have their own agenda on that. When it comes to it, there's going to be 4 or 5 centre-backs in every squad, and at that point, it's a case of competing with each other and pushing each other and being ready to step in whenever you're called upon. Just those questions in particular, Tony, or the answer to that question in particular, it sounds as if 2 or 3 centre-backs potentially could leave the club. I don't know about you, but the 2 that I picked out, or the 3 that I picked out, were the likes of Kobayashi. Nat Phillips's loan won't get extended, and maybe somebody else. I don't know if maybe Welsh will go out on loan, or maybe even Nawrowski or Lagerbielke. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, I think, but I mean, I think he's just more or less saying echoing what Brendan has been saying, with regards to that. He just put a wee bit more meat on the bone, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
But left it kind of hanging there. But I think most people are of the opinion that Kobayashi's away. Nat Phillips will go back to parent club Liverpool, and then it's permanently one from Lagerbielke, Welsh, and Nawrowski, isn't it? In terms of a loan deal, I would have to say, despite his performance the other night, I would think it would be Welsh.
Mm-hmm.
Malone, and he'd probably go somewhere in Scotland, like a Liam Scales Aberdeen type loan. That would be beneficial, I think. But because I think Brendan Rodgers will certainly want to get a right good look at Lagerbielke and Nawrowski, seeing as how they've shelled out money for them. I'd be very surprised if either of those 2 went on loan. But again, you just don't know, do you? But Celtic paid money for these guys, so it's I would think that they would be loath to let them go out on loan, whereas Welsh has been around for a while, hasn't he? And if he can go somewhere and get football, regular football, and he plays like he did the other night, then it's a win-win. He can come back and maybe do a Liam Scales, can't he?
Yeah,
You have to
I
say
mean,
it's Cameron Carter-Vickers and Scales at the minute as your pairing, isn't it? I know you want Navrowski shoehorned in there at some point. Gustav Lagerbielke's come on the other night and scored the win in a Champions League match. So you're hoping that that can be the turning point for him. I think most clubs want... Brendan Rodgers said he wanted 4 centre-backs competing, didn't he? Earlier this season. So it was an interesting answer, but nothing new in terms of what... It was kind of more or less reiterating what Brendan was saying. You're just now playing... You're playing your own kind of version of Guess Who, that kind of children's game, where you flick the cards and various people, and thinking of, right, who's the other centre-back that could possibly leave the club for either a loan or permanent move. So you think that Kobayashi and Nat Phillips are definitely 2 on that list. And as per anyone from Welsh, Lagerbielke and Navrowski at this minute, but I would err on the fact that it would probably be Welsh. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be Welsh. It could honestly be any of them. It's really a mystery as to who will stay and who will go. I would say. It's such a busy.
But I also think if you're thinking about doing a deal for Majowski from Aberdeen, say, then there's various sweeteners that you could throw in with regards to that in terms of players. Welsh, Kobayashi or whatever,
I don't think it'll be Scales anymore. That's the thing. That if
we were
to go back
certainly not be Scales,
I don't know if Aberdeen can necessarily afford them anymore, just given the way he's been playing.
Well, that's the thing. I meant Welsh. Did I say Scales? But
No. But I was just saying because he was there last season.
So the likes of Welsh, and you're talking about centre backs, but I would throw Mikey Johnson into that equation as well. So it's, and I think most people after the other night would like to see Gustav Lagerbielke sort of get a chance to show more of what he can do after scoring the other night, and his confidence levels are up, and he was voted the best defender in Sweden, wasn't he? So, and Navrowski remains a kind of enigma, doesn't he? Because we've not seen...
It's very weird.
You've not seen much of him since he arrived, but I think that will change soon enough. I think the kind of break over January will be very important for a lot of players, So, we'll see what happens with that. Yeah, I think a lot of guys try to get their fitness levels up as well, and and prove to the manager that they should be in the team, or certainly be quoted for squads again.
Yeah, I'm just going to go down to this next one. I think this will probably be one of the last ones that we look at with regard to the press conference, because in terms of newsworthy things to talk about. So John Kennedy was asked about Daizen Maeda and how important he is to the way that Celtic want to play with speed, energy and pressing. John Kennedy replied saying he is important. The team has been a bit interrupted with injuries, but the guys who have maybe been on the fringes have came in and done a good job. Carter-Vickers is a really good player. Rio's missed the last chunk of the season. Abada has missed most of the season. They're all very important players and they contribute a lot, and they have done. And then he goes on to talk about Daizen Maeda. He's a trigger for a lot of that in terms of our intensity. The game we want to play relies on us keeping the intensity levels as high as we can, and Daizen's energy triggers a lot of that for us in terms of shutting down the time teams take to set up attacks. Even if a team want to play direct, he can get to the ball without them and playing accurate long balls. On the flip side of that, he attacks the back line and penetrates any kind of space that the opposition leaves. Having speed in our team is important. It's an important aspect. When he's not there, you recognise that. To be fair, he is an absolute machine, and I think he wanted to get involved before now, but we had to put the reins on him a touch because he still had a bit of an injury going on. He's a great lad. He has a terrific work rate, and he is a very important player for us. Sounds as if John Kennedy's a paying member of the Daizen Maeda Appreciation Society, judging by that response. How, just in general, how important is Daizen Maeda to this side in terms of the tempo? It just shows you that John Kennedy rates him so highly, and this is clearly what the manager thinks as well, because they'll be unified in their approach. Just shows you how important Daizen Maeda is to the makeup of this team.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they've missed that. And again, he's just telling you that, he is important to the makeup of the team and the way the team play, and not just in an attacking sense, but just what he brings. We're talking about there that even teams that want to go long, he's the one that can cut out the supply at source, that kind of stuff. So that's clearly what he's been instructed to do, and we see that we see that whenever he plays. But that's his instruction. Well, that's what he did when under the former manager. That's what he did since Brendan came in. They just appreciate that work rate, don't they? And that boundless energy. But as I've said before, he's more than just that kind of player. He has an eye for goal. He can assist. And I want to see more of that from him, because I think people just take for granted the kind of the Duracell bunny or roadrunner nature of the machine nature of Maeda, and it's all well and good, and he does all those things really, really well. But I think first and foremost, he's a striker, isn't he? Or he can play striker certainly, but he's a front man, So I want to see him hurt teams more there in the opposition's box, and not just be the guy that tracks back and negates their full back or wing back, whatever you want to call them. My only criticism of Maeda would be his delivery into the box and wide areas at times. It leaves a lot to be desired. It can be lacking at times, and he gets himself into good positions because of his speed, and sometimes his touches, lets him down. But so I want to see him. I mean, he's got 2 goals and 2 assists this season. Obviously those figures would be more had he not been out for a spell. But I want to see him troubling those columns again, Ryan, the goals and assist columns, because I think he's far better than just the player that everybody thinks does a great defensive shift and negates others. Because I think he's a lot more than that, and he can be a lot more than that. You saw him cut inside at Easter Road and unleash a beauty into the top corner seconds after missing one for like 3 inches. So he's as Rodgers and Kennedy are in the Maeda fan club. I don't think there's a Celtic supporter that doesn't appreciate what Daizen Maeda brings to the table, and I don't think there's a Celtic supporter who hasn't missed him since he was out the team. And I don't think, and I think, in a way, I think guys like Kyogo and that have missed him as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I think he's such a vital cog in that attacking. But he's vital in both attacking and defending as well. He's just as good at both. Well, probably even better defensively than he is attacking wise. But he's such an important cog for Celtic to use. And the fact that he's back tomorrow, we both assume that he'll be starting tomorrow, can only be good going forward for Celtic. I think he'll just slot into that right wing position almost seamlessly alongside Palmer. But that's even more spoilers for the predicted 11 that's coming out in around about 10 minutes. I don't know if it'll be much of a spoiler by the time we get there with regard to the predicted 11. But I think we'll do it just now, won't we? We'll just go into it right now with regard to the team that we both picked for tomorrow. I think we've got the same one.
Exact same team.
So. Yeah, the exact same. Smart minds think alike and all that, but we've went for
full seldom differ.
Yeah. We've went for Joe Hart and goals, Greg Taylor, Liam Scales, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Alistair Johnson. In the midfield, we went with Carl McGregor, then Bernardo and O'Reilly make up the 3. Lewis Palmer on the left, Daizen Maeda returns from injury on the right, and Kyogo up front. That's the team that we went for, Tony. What's your sort of thoughts behind it, especially in those question mark areas? You look at that third midfield spot with Bernardo. What was your sort of thinking with regards to that?
Well, I thought that both him and McGregor could alternate between being a 6 and a 10, couldn't they? both could go forward and both could fill in if need be, in that 6 role. So that was my thinking behind Bernardo. And I also think Bernardo's a bit more robust. Hearts are going to be robust, going to be a physical challenge from Hearts. So I think Bernardo can stand up to that. I'm hoping he can. Your alternatives, Turnbull. Turnbull brings goals from range, doesn't he? Long range, certainly. But I just think you might not get a lot of time to set up long range shots tomorrow against Hearts, because I think they'll be in your face and they'll try the whole kind of what Kilmarnock did last weekend, and just hustle and harry out your. So I'm hoping that Bernardo, is robust enough and physical enough to cope with that, and that's my reason for having him in there, just because he's pretty big, and I like what I've seen of him so far. He's going to go to guys, you say, for the Champions League, and he's did fine, hasn't he? He's did okay. What remains to be seen, nobody spoke about Iwata, so they might produce a shocker and it'll be Iwata in there. So we still don't know any update on Iwata, but that's certainly my thinking there. Maeda comes straight back in because I just think Celtic need him, and that'll be the loudest cheer of the day for a lot of people, seeing him in a welcome sight, seeing Maeda coming back in. Carter-Vickers coming automatically back in. He's just the man when it comes to defenders. But that's not to say that I wasn't delighted with Scales and Welsh the other night, because I was, and I bigged them up and I thought they were excellent. I thought Lagerbielke too played his part when he came on. But it's a no contest when you're talking about Carter-Vickers. He's back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he plays. He fit his place, correct. And Cameron Carter-Vickers and another, and at this moment it's Scales, because you can't take Scales out that team, or if you want to, then it goes back to the age-old problem, doesn't it? Or a problem position that you think, Taylor, you could conceivably switch Scales to left back and bring in Gustav Lagerbielke or Nawrowski, and that might be something that could be in the manager's thoughts moving forward in order to accommodate either or of the two centre-backs that Celtic have signed for money. So I wouldn't rule that out moving forward, but that's not to continue any kind of Greg Taylor bashing. It's just a thought, isn't it, in terms of your team selection, and Liam Scales can play there. So, and a lot of Celtic supporters have reached the end of their rope with Taylor, haven't they? So
people are even calling for Mitchell Frame as well.
Mitchell Frame is a left back to trade, isn't he? So he came on the wide area the other night. So yeah, listen, if need be, the manager has got options in terms of, if he were to drop Taylor or rotate Taylor. So that's it's something that he might think about more now. But I don't. Again, I trust the manager on this. I'm sure he will do it for all the right reasons, and not because fans are unhappy. I think he kind of block that noise out, wouldn't he, and do it for the good of the team. And as I say, I think Greg Taylor's going through a kind of Anthony Ralston-esque whipping boy phase at the minute, where everything he does doesn't appear to be right, and it's getting magnified to a real extent. And he's kind of the player that most Celtic supporters have a downer on at the moment, isn't it? So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to talk about with regard to either the press conference or the predicted lineup before we finish off this evening, Tony?
Just at Kyogo, I would keep faith in Kyogo. I liked what I saw from Kyogo the other night. Some people didn't, but I say he's still making those runs. He's still an intelligent footballer, and I actually think that tomorrow, having Maeda back in that team, which I hope he is, will help Kyogo. And I'll be as bold as to say I think Maeda might set up Kyogo for a goal. There you go.
See that.
I'd love to see that happen.
Anyone will do. That's it. As long as Celtic keep the 3 points going, we will be back at around about, let me think, 3 o'clock. So it's about 1:45, 10 to 2 to discuss tomorrow's game. I'll be at Celtic Park. We'll be there before and after the game to discuss what goes on at Celtic Park against Hearts. We'll also have the instant analysis that will be available on the site. If you do want to support us just a wee bit more, please subscribe to the Celtic Way website and the YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the website, £4 for 4 months, you'll be supporting top quality football journalism covering the club you love. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel, it's completely free and it'll get you notifications as to when we go live with pre-recorded videos, shorts from our TikToks, our morning briefings, our post-match briefings as well. So if you're interested in that and you've got the time and you've got a YouTube account, then please join us by pressing the subscribe button on the Celtic Way. Tony, that is just hitting 6 o'clock. The predicted lineups will now be on the website in the next 2 minutes or so. If you're watching this live, if you're not watching this live, it'll already be on there. Tony, thank you very much for joining me this evening. I really, really do appreciate it.
Pleasure as always, sir, and I shall see you tomorrow. You'll
Perfect.
be
10 to 2.
Park, 10 to 2, round about 10 to 2-ish.
Once 10 to 2.
10 to 2-ish.
Yeah. I don't know if that has the same ring to it as 10-ish, but we'll go with it. Thank you very much to everybody that's joined us for this stream. We'll see you all tomorrow. But until then, thank you very much and have a good rest of your night.